Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 2025 Sermonette Challenge. My name is Gabriella, and I have a dream of becoming a public speaker for Christ and traveling all over the world sharing the gospel. To assist in this endeavor, I am challenging myself to write and share a sermonette each week for practice as well as feedback. So, any comments that you have, please let me know. I really want to improve, as well as any topic suggestions that you would have or possible speaking engagements. Anyway, today we are talking about hiking. For context, I was not big into hiking growing up. I wasn't big into sports either. Hiking was something I discovered later towards the end of my college years. I had gone to study abroad in Japan, and I was sent back because of COVID. My program was canceled, and they said you have 4 days to leave the country. And so I ended up back here in the U.S. Um, and hiking became one of the only activities that I could do. I was cooped up in the house, I was doing classes in Zoom, and hiking became one of the only activities that I could do, and it became a way for me to keep my sanity. Now, I am a guidebook type of person, and so I got this book called California Hiking, the complete guide to 1,000 of the best hikes in the Golden State. And you can see it's pretty information dense, and I stumbled across one of these hikes that said it was on Catalina Island. I later learned that Catalina Island has a trail called the Trans Catalina Trail that goes through the entirety of the island of Catalina, and I said, that sounds like a pretty cool trail. I want to do that trail. And so I purchased another guidebook that specifically covers the Trans Catalina Trail. Now, it didn't just cover the Trans-Catalina Trail, it actually covered two trails. The second one being the Backbone Trail, or the BBT. I had no interest in the Backbone Trail doing it at the time, but then as I'm getting into this book, I start seeing more information on the Backbone Trail, and I was like, hmm, I don't know. Maybe this is a trail that I could do after all. And so I was living in Southern California at that time, and the Backbone Trail is also in Southern California in the Santa Monica Mountains. And so I said, like, I want to do this trail. I want to go backpacking. I want to go camp out. And I had all these grand plans, but it was COVID, and all the campsites were closed. And so I kept postponing my plans and I kept postponing it. And then I suddenly realized that I was letting my backpacking plans prevent me from doing my hiking plans. What I ultimately wanted to do was go hiking. And I wasn't doing that because I couldn't go backpacking on top of hiking. And I thought, why don't I go ahead and do that? How often do we let that happen in our own spiritual lives as well, where we have this grand plan of serving God and we're like, okay, I want to serve God, but first let me get a degree in theology. I want to serve God, but first let me read the Bible in its entirety. I want to serve God, but first let me earn the money to go on a mission trip. All those things are good. It's good to go on a mission trip. It's good to get a degree in theology. It's good to read the Bible in its entirety. But we could already be serving God. We could already be going on missions. We could already be going on hikes, even if the campsites are closed. In Genesis, when it talks about God calling Abraham, this is what it says in Genesis 12, verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. God hadn't shown it to him yet. I will show you. And it says in verse 4, so Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him. Obedience. And we know there were trials along the way, there were failures, there were lots of bad things that happened. But in the end, God was able to fulfill so much through the line of Abraham. And it started right here in obedience to God. If we turn to a New Testament example, we actually have lots of examples all throughout the Bible of people where God says, oh, just go to this place, and then they go to there, and then God reveals this word further. But if we're not going to the first place, there's only so much that God can reveal to us when we're not submitting to his will. This is what it says in Acts 9. This is talking about Saul. He's on the road to Damascus. He has a conversion experience, and it says in verse 6, so he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And the Lord said to him, arise and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. Go and do this first step. Get on this first step, and then I'll reveal the rest of the plan to you. So that's my first challenge for you guys. Whatever God is calling you to do, whatever that first step may be, do it anyway. Even if you don't feel prepared, do it anyway. You might not know all of the finer points of of apologetics and of sharing your faith, but you can start with just telling people that God loves them. You can share with demonstrating the kind of love that you have because of Jesus. And by being kind to people, take the first step to whatever God is calling you. Now let's get into this story. So I learned about the Backbone Trail and I had this idea, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so the Backbone Trail is a 67-mile trail that goes, you can see over here, from the Will Rogers State Park through Topanga State Park and all the way to Malibu Creek State Park to the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. It goes from Los Angeles County into Ventura County and then to Point Mugu State Park, ending in the Ray Miller Trailhead. And the entirety of this trail is 67 miles. Now, my goal was to do 20 miles on the first day, and you can see that there are these roads that intersect with the trail. And so my goal was say, okay, for the first day, I'm gonna get all the way to Malibu Canyon Road, and then I'm gonna have my family pick me up from there. And then all the way, I'm gonna get to this road on the second day, and then I'm gonna have my family pick me up from there, drop me off at this following day, and then I'm gonna complete the last section of the trail. And so I said, let's just see how far I get. And so I had these two roads that I was eyeing as possible pickup points. Okay, so day one, get up bright and early, and my mom drives me off to the trailhead. You can see it's still, the dew is still on the plants, and you have these horses at the beginning of trail, and I get to the official start of the trail. And as I'm starting, I see various trail signs, and one of them is for this mountain lion. And so I'm just walking along, and I walk right past this sign. Now, I had read the guidebook. I knew that there were mountain lions in this part of the world. I also read that they were very uncommon to have a mountain lion sighting, and even the guy who wrote this said that I've been hiking so many years and I have yet to encounter a mountain lion. And even those who had encountered a mountain lion, most of them did not involve an attack. And I think in like something like the last 50 years, there have only been two recorded fatalities due to a mountain lion attack. And so I was just like, chances of me running into a mountain lion, very slim. And so I walked right past that sign. And then hold on, wait a minute, maybe I should go back and read what the sign says. And so I backtrack and I look at what the sign says, and it says, You know, if you happen to encounter a mountain lion, you want to wave your hands, you want to make noise, you want to dissuade it pretty much from coming to attack you. And so I read this warning sign through. It's interesting that sometimes we do exactly what I did initially. We see a sign, we know there is a possible danger, and we walk right past the sign. This is what it says in Psalm 119. Psalm 119. In verse 11. Your word I have hidden in my heart that I might not sin against you. And in verse 12 it says, Blessed are you, O Lord, teach me your statutes. How many times do we say this to God? We're like, Lord, I want to follow you. I don't want to sin against you. Teach me your statutes. And God says, here is an entire volume of writing that from the very beginning of it speaks about my love and my plan for you. And it talks about how we fell, and it gives you examples of men and women to aspire to, as well as their failures, so that you don't fall into the same pitfalls. And it talks all the way about what's going to happen in the end times and the hope that we have. And God says, I'm going to give you this word. And we walk right past the warning sign, because what are the chances of us encountering a mountain lion? This is what it says in Proverbs 1, verses 2 through 4. To know wisdom and instruction, to receive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity. To give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. Do you want wisdom and knowledge and discretion and prudence, and to be able to discern justice and judgment? Here, right here, it says that the purpose of this book and these sayings are to give us that. But we're too busy getting along in our hike that we walk right past the sign. And so my encouragement to you is, don't walk past the sign, go back and read it, because you don't know what dangers lie ahead. And it is better to know what to do in the event of danger rather than to walk straight on and say, nah, I'm not going to run into that. And so I go on my hike, and it's this beautiful hike. The first part is covered and it's shady, but then the miles keep going, and I start myself slowing down. And I'm wearing these really big boots, and they feel heavy on my feet. I didn't have a proper day pack, so I borrowed my brother's backpack, and now the backpack is starting to feel heavy. It's a little bit too big for me, and I can feel myself slowing down. I'm recording my progress on my phone, and so that takes quite a bit of battery, and even the battery pack that I am attaching to my phone is starting to get drained. And I get to this street. It's not quite the street that I had planned on. It is 18 miles in instead of 20. But then maybe it's best if I should turn in. Before I get there, I get to this area that's kind of well populated, and so it seems like there's gonna be no danger because there are people around. And then I see this wonderful sight, and initially I'm like, that's a really big cat. That seems like a cat that is way too big to be a regular house cat. And I see this cat pounce on something in the field. It looks like it might be a mouse, and it starts to eat this thing that it has pounced on. And I was just like, I'm just gonna keep my distance, and I'm gonna walk on by, and I'm gonna get out of there. Spoiler alert, I just didn't know my cats. It was not a mountain lion, it was actually a bobcat. So less dangerous, but still, it was a big cat. And in that moment, I thought, is this a mountain lion encounter? After believing that I would not meet one. You never know the dangers that you're going to meet. And even if it's unlikely, it is better to be prepared than to walk into the wilderness, walk into danger, and possibly encounter a big cat and not know what to do in that situation. So I ended day one with 18 miles under my belt. And so I had still quite a lot of miles to go moving forward. Like I said, on the official trail map, there were 67 miles to that trail. And with 18 miles down, I still had 49 miles to go. That's where we're gonna end this sermonette with day one. Stay tuned for day two and to find out what other dangers as well as adventures was ahead of me, um, and how it can apply to our spiritual walk.